Okay, this is my explanation for this exam question. The exam question asked you to begin with to explain what the size of the angle x was, and then after that to also deduce the size of the angle y, but that you had to explain your reasoning for that to show you're working. Okay, so if we look at question 1, deducing x. So how could we find x? Well, it's going to be important to recognise that we've got some parallel lines here. The line AC and the line DG are parallel to one another, which was shown in the question by the fact that they had an arrow on them. Okay, so if we remember that the angles in parallel lines, they're cut through. If we remember what's sometimes called the supplementary rule, sometimes called the co-interior rule, which is that if you've got two different angles between parallel lines, those are going to sum to 180 degrees. That's one way we can deduce x. So I could say that 25 degrees plus x is equal to 180 degrees. I could subtract 25 degrees from both sides and get that x is equal to 155 degrees. So that's one way I could do it. How else could we do it? Well, you can always, in these angles problems, you can always extend lines as well. So you could have as well extended this line here. Perhaps you forget, I think it's the least easy to remember of the three parallel line rules, the co-interior or supplementary. Choose either to remember the name of. I think that's the least easy one to remember of the three angle rules. I think it's easier to remember the so-called, it's not the official name, but you might remember them at first as F angles, which you need to remember are called corresponding angles, which we should know are equal. So if that's an angle A, this would be equal as well, provided the lines are parallel. So corresponding angles are equal. And that actually, if you spot this, that means that this angle and this angle here would both be corresponding. And so I could do 180 minus 25, which is actually the same calculation we'd be doing here, to get x that way as well. Okay, what about finding angle y now? Well, there's a few ways you could do this. One way you could do it is you could say that angle, we can use that symbol to represent an angle. It's like a 4 over L, and it kind of looks like an angle as well, right? Angle BFE. That's going to be equal to 180 degrees minus angle X, right? Or angle BFG. Because of angles on a straight line. So we could say as a result that because of angles on a straight line summing to 180 degrees, I've just found out that x is 155, and always just add to the diagram what you found out. If I've just found out x is 155, add that to your diagram. Okay, now I know from that that this here must be equal to 180 minus 155, so angle BFE must be 25 degrees. How could I have spotted that without knowing x? Well, I could have spotted that because if you notice we've got a Z shape here. So this is our final angles and parallel lines rule. If you have two parallel lines and they're again cut by another line and you have a Z shape, those are called alternate angles. And as you can see here, they're equal. So this is angle A, this is also angle A. So you could have also, even without x, said that this is 25 degrees. You're told this is 90 degrees. So if we're trying to find this angle here, then we've got a triangle. So I can say that angle, what's this angle going to be called at E here? It's going to be called angle BEF. Other names are available. That's going to be 180 degrees minus 90, for the right angle minus what we've just found out, which was that is 25 degrees, and that's because of angles in a triangle sum to 180 degrees. So if I did 180 minus 90, that's 90, 90 minus 25, 80, 70, I think that's going to be 65 degrees. Okay, so I now add that to my diagram. Now, in the exam question you might notice that it said that you can add to diagrams as well, so as part of showing working, so always do that. And now I've deduced that this is 65 degrees, and I need to find out what my angle Y is. Well, we've got a straight line here, so I can say that angle HEF is equal to 180 degrees minus the 65 degrees, which is going to be 115 degrees, I think. And that's because of angles on a straight line. The more practice you get at stating the rules and the reasons, then the quicker you're going to get and the better you're going to get. And it's very important to be remembering these key facts. Corresponding angles are equal, alternate angles are equal, and co-interior, also called supplementary angles, sum to 180 degrees. Alright, that's that exam question.